Subway, eat fresh. So welcome back to the channel. This video is really going to be about why I chose a dual sport over everything else. So why I believe that a dual sport is better overall than everything else is simply put the suspension, the ground clearance, and the fact that you can go off-road without any problem, right? Meaning the tires are good for off-road, you can switch back to on-road, change your PSI, and go about your day. Versus most motorcycles, believe it or not, are limited. They're fixed. If it's a cruiser, it's just super loud and fast. If it's a sport bike, it's just fast. If it is a Goldwing, then that's more of a super heavy bike, and it's generally for older people. But a dual sport is a lightweight, multi-purpose utilitarian machine. It can climb excess amount of elevation depending if it's fuel injected or not, and even if it's not and it's carbureted, you can tune the jets and the carb to make it compensate for that elevation. It has the, yes, I understand, tube tires, which most people do not like. I mentioned that in one of my other sit-down videos, that it is kind of a bummer that it has that. Some you can get without it, such as if you get a, DRZ 400 Supermoto, or if you got the KLX 230 or 300 Supermotos. Any one of those can technically kind of go off-road, but the tires are not going to be there. They're going to be kind of more slippery, but you can still do it, and they're tubeless. The main reason why I chose it is because of the fact, again, it can do so much. It is not restricted to just off-road. It can go many places. They're pretty good, not gonna lie. A lot of the times, I feel that, especially if you're a new beginner and you're just getting into motorcycle riding, a dual sport is great because they're not super fast. They're not super twitchy, but it's enough power and speed to get up hills, to get up tough terrain, to do the things that it's built to do. And depending on what model you get and what kind of bike you get, ultimately will determine that. But again, you're able to go into places that most motorcycle riders will never see in their entire lives. Famous YouTuber Itchy Boots goes all around the world on the CRF 300 Rally, tours around the world, goes to other countries and continents that, unfortunately, a Yamaha R6 or R3 is not going to be able to do, or a Ninja 400, or now they have the Ninja 500. Mainly, you have to ask yourselves, after a period of time in whatever motorcycle class you're riding in, how important is it to keep that motorcycle class to you forever, or how important is it for you to want to go explore and see nature and see different things that you just never have seen, different terrain, rough terrain that you've never adventured off or even thought that you'd be able to do. I mean, going over logs or ruts or single track, not single track, but dual track, if you want to call it that, two track, I believe they call it. Stuff like that, these narrow little paths, you're never going to get. You go to Arizona or some of the southwestern states of the United States, and you wouldn't be able to take, again, a traditional bike back there, a Harley or an R6. I mean, technically you could, but you're probably not going to do too well. The tires are going to slip, your shocks are going to bottom, your suspension's going to be all over the place. It's not going to be a good day for you. So that's why you kind of need more of a utilitarian type machine. A lot of these guys, they ride these super bikes and they go extremely fast. I mean, I see them all the time. I live in California, and I see them going 120, 50, 60 miles an hour, 160 miles an hour on the freeways. And not only is it extremely dangerous to be going at those speeds, but you have to ask yourselves, like, how much longer do I want to do this for? Because I'll tell you this, like, you buy a new bike, you break it in, you're with it for 6 months, you're wanting the next one, right? Usually people want to just keep upgrading to get better and more power. But I'll tell you that from my personal experiences, I've agreed to that, but I've also realized that you don't really need that much power on the road, because the roads are mainly for cruising. They're not going to be made for being a speed demon down the interstate. You know, it's just not, that's just not how it works. And you're probably going to get a ticket, or better yet, get arrested. So I would just say, and pose this to all of you out there that are listening to this, like if you're really considering, you know, getting another motorcycle, if you already have a motorcycle, or if you're getting into the motorcycle world, really consider the dual sport class, because again, it's a multifaceted type bike. The adventure class is also a good one if you want even more power than a traditional dual sport. Most dual sports only go up to about 650 cc's from what I'm aware of. I'm sure there's people out there that can mod and rig things to make them more or less power, sure, I'm not discrediting that, but in stock form, if we're just talking from that perspective, most of the time, that's the max amount of power that you're gonna get. The DR650 is the GOAT, greatest of all time utilitarian type bikes. That's gonna be the highest amount of power for the dual sport class in stock form. You also have the Honda XR650L. Most people, and I think there's only about 1 or 2% of the population that's actually above 6 feet, maybe it's a higher percentage, but I think it's very low, will not want to get the XR650L simply because the seat height is 37 inches. You know, I've gone on it and I'm about 5'10" with a 32-inch inseam, and I've even struggled to put one foot down, man. I'm on my toes the entire time. I at least want to be on the balls of my feet, or if I can flat foot it, even better. When you're selecting a bike, whether you're a current rider or new rider, you want to take seat height into consideration, especially if you're going off-road in the dual sporting world. What they won't teach you in the MSF course, which I'll go into another video with that later on, is they won't teach you how to ride off-road as well. There are courses readily available. There's different places that you can go for this to get the knowledgeable experience on how to get over a rut, how to get over a log safely, how to get over rough terrain, knowing how to fall if you lose balance on the bike off-road. You know, it's one of those things where you're just not going to get that on road. Now, I will say you want to do the MSF course if you're going to be driving on road, because you need a license in order to operate, you know, a traditional motorcycle on road. But I will say, if you were just getting a bike to just dirt bike or go off-road, and your state doesn't require or country require to get a license for that, then do what you need to do. But I will say that you are not going to get that experience on a traditional motorcycle, other than maybe going down canyon roads or roads that lead out to the water or the beach. You always see those Instagram videos of, you know, different people making those types of videos, which are great, but you're not going to get that off-road. It's a totally different experience. You're in nature, you're dealing with animals at times. I almost ran over a squirrel last week.
Squirrel! Woo!
Yeah. So you're not going to get any of that when you're on traditional bikes. Riding off-road tends to be slightly safer than being on-road. Motorcycle riders, on average, it's 33 times that they're likely to get into a crash, versus if you're off-road, that percentage is most likely going to drop just because there's less people on the road. There's more dirt and gravel and areas where if you fall, it's going to hurt, but it's going to hurt a lot less than if you were to slide over the damn pavement, you know, going 80 to 100 miles an hour on the interstate or even on the streets. I mean, again, these sport racing bikes, I see them all the time, or even cruisers. They slit out, they fall, and they don't have, number one thing, riding gear. Not to say you can't get injured, you can't get killed, you can't break your neck. I'm not saying that. Any motorcycle riding is always a risk, but it does tend to be, in my opinion, of what I've heard and seen and even felt, a little bit safer than your regular riding all over the streets. Me personally, I tend to just want to stay off-road, stay on side roads or back roads, and then go to the trails, go to dirt roads or roads that lead up to a dirt road as much as possible. But I would prefer that over, you know, going on all these different, you know, journeys on the road. I want to minimize, in my opinion, minimize my road activity. Now, I'm not saying don't get your license, don't know how to ride on the road. In the dual sport world, you need to ride on road to get to trails. So you're going to need to get on the road. But the main thing is you're going to be spending a lot less time on road because you're off road, and you're going to be set up that way, and you're going to be minimizing your chance of potentially getting into a fatal which is inevitable in motorcycle riding. It's a possibility every time. The main thing though that I hope you all take away from this video is the fact that you really need to consider that in your future, I believe. And if you currently have a bike, maybe consider it. Maybe go to your local motorcycle dealer, take a trip out there and hop on a bike and see how it feels. You never know. Like I always say, somebody that especially is brand new that have never ridden, it's almost like a curse. You throw one leg over the saddle and now you're like, shit, I want to go out for this. I want to take this thing out. I want to get my license, do all that. It's almost like a rush. I know for me it was. So these are just things to take into consideration when you're picking and choosing what you want to, have for yourself in the future. And then also if you're a new rider, consider the dual sports. Anyway, I hope this added value to your day and added value to give you some insight on your decision making with whether you're a new rider or a pre-existing rider, on whether you should go the dual sport route or not. Those were also some of the reasons why I chose the dual sport route and will most likely not ever change it. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving a like and give it a comment. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.